Hello, everyone, and welcome so much to the Jill So Syrian space today. I wanted to hop on here and have a discussion about being a girl's girl and what that means to me, and really touching on honing into our sisterhood because I do think it is really important and extremely vital for our existence as women to really connect and appreciate other women. And I really want to dive into that and then also the darker aspects of being a woman as well. So, I don't believe there is any woman on the planet who hasn't experienced some type of jealousy, fear, or anger that's rooted in some type of maybe deep feeling of unworthiness or abandonment issues, some type of core wound like rejection, persecution, abandonment, betrayal, and really integrating through that to be part of the sisterhood, to understand what it really means to be a girl's girl on the planet. And this helps us interact with our friends, our families, our loved ones, and women that we don't even know. So let's begin. I really want to touch on first the darkness aspect of being a woman and different things that maybe I've gone through and maybe you can relate yourselves, and how it's transformed in my life as I've grown and expanded. So let's say that since the dawn of time, or maybe just, a few 100 million years ago, or however long we've been on the planet doing things, women, at least in the last couple of centuries, it's almost been like a competition to find a spouse, especially maybe in like the 1700s, 1600s, 1500s, etc. Even before that, it's almost as women would be sold off as property. And women needed to find a successful mate in order to be accepted in society. And you can kind of see this in some of even my favorite films. I love Pride and Prejudice. I love the book as well. And even in there, as you see, Elizabeth doesn't necessarily want to get married, etc. And her sisters, everyone's out in the world courting husbands, right? So it can be really romantic, but it is something that is kind of almost innate in our DNA. And it's kind of like if any of you have been proposed to or you are married, I'm sure you might have even had that funny little feeling that when you were proposed to, it was almost like leveling up in a game. Like level complete, mission accepted, now I'm on to the next. So I think some part of that programming is deeply embedded into our DNA, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying that it definitely is existent, and therefore I do find that women often find themselves in competition with each other, especially in the dating world or just being out in public in general. Maybe you already have a partner, but maybe you also still struggle with insecurity. So perhaps you're in a grocery store or walking down the street with your partner and you catch a glance of another woman and you start comparing yourself to her, and then you immediately just feel some type of ill feelings towards this woman who hasn't done anything to you, hasn't even made an effort to speak to you or your partner, and you've already created this false ideal in your mind to put up a block for this other woman. And this can even be like with family or friends. Maybe you have like friends or family members who are women who you might even feel jealousy or envy towards. And this is really important to, I think, bring our attention to as women, because I think that the sisterhood is all about truly that, being sisters and working in collaboration with each other. It's truly collaboration. It isn't a competition. And by understanding that, by living on this planet, it is a collaboration. And when we all learn to really love and respect each other, there won't be any room for ill feelings or jealousy or envy or thoughts that really break each other down. So I really want to touch on this when it's related to the friend group, because it's something I've definitely experienced throughout my life growing up. I know that women and men both bully each other a little bit differently, especially as your children when you're growing up. Girls are a little bit more sneaky about it than men. Typically, what I find is what I've noticed. This is solely my own experience, my own thoughts and opinions. But growing up, I noticed that a lot of the male population would be bullied mostly very outright by name calling or actual physical abuse, like beating kids up. Whereas girls do things a little bit more strategically. It's kind of like the Mean Girls movie. They kind of befriend you and then belittle you and put you down in some ways because they might feel intimidated by you or jealous, envious, etc., as if you threaten their existence in some way, which simply just isn't true. It's a falsity and a lens that we put on ourselves when we feel unworthy. So that doesn't make it any less real, because it definitely has happened. I know from firsthand experience. I have had abuse from women growing up in middle school and high school, and even as an adult, from women who claim to be your friend and then purposely will go out of their way to say things that are very negative, and negative in a way, not saying let's always lean towards positivity, because that would be almost spirit like bypassing your own emotions, right? So it's not about ignoring negativity and only being positive, but when you purposely go out of your way to kind of crush someone's joy a little bit by asking questions and shifting conversation to a negative topic around something that is a very positive topic, to me would be a form of bullying in a type of way, or making someone feel small. Not necessarily that I'm saying you can't make someone do anything, because everyone does have the right to their own thoughts, minds, decisions, and choices. But not everyone is always, all the time, 100% of the day, completely always in alignment or in conscious thought with being able to control that. We all shift in and out of it all the time. And especially if it's someone who you feel that you're close with, a family member or a quote unquote friend that you feel like is your friend, and they are saying things that are really actually breaking down your dreams or maybe your family unit by asking you inappropriate questions about your family in a way that kind of breaks down the way that you feel, in a sense of trying to get a rise out of you or create some type of negative emotion that isn't there. This usually would be because they're projecting. Typically, people do this because they're unhappy in their own lives. So we do need to understand that first when we're talking about the darkness of the feminine sisterhood. Typically, if we are unhappy and we feel as if there's something missing in our lives or we're stressed, we kind of project that onto everyone else. Or maybe it's not even, it is a, or I don't want to say projection for the second one, but it could also be we want to see them fail in a certain way. So that's really important to understand too about the negative sisterhood that I've noticed is not everyone wants your best. It has your best interest or wants you to do well. That's also very, very important for us to remember. And it is a little bit painful, but once we realize that everyone is working through their own personal journey, that they're all integrating their own personal pain and trauma, we can really just move forward and let them go. And I think right now it is eclipse season. We have a Scorpio moon the moment that I'm recording this, and we just have a lot of really big shifts coming in. It is October. coming into the fall season and the equinox, lots of big shifts. This would be a great time to kind of re-examine your relationships in your life and remember that blood does not necessarily mean family in your heart. You don't necessarily have to really push yourself and feel obligated to be around anyone who is not necessarily wishing you well. So, as we remember that, it's really important in the sisterhood as well. So, let's touch on the friendship, a couple more things on the darkness of the friendship, and then let's go ahead and jump right into what we can do to shift and really understand what it means to be a girl's girl. And then we can do some comparisons and really look inside of ourselves, and let's reflect on different times in our lives where we might not have been a girl's girl and how we can really integrate into truly having those feminine friendships and part of the sisterhood, because the sisterhood is so important. Just like the brotherhood is, it's very important for the masculine to have a strong masculine group and feel accepted and loved, just like it's so important for the feminine, the sisterhood, to have people who are a support system that really can support that balance for them in their lives, who want the best for them. And wanting the best for someone doesn't mean you're controlling them or really sharing your opinions too heavily. It's more so if they are happy and they're doing no harm to others and themselves, that's what you'd want to see, and it's really just holding space for them with unconditional love in a way that is not harming anything or anyone. So if you find yourself around people who tend to switch anything that might be a positive experience for you into asking you questions that are negative about the experience. For example, if you are switching careers or there's just a big life change and you're so happy and you're full of joy and you're just feeling your highest and best, and you share this information with somebody and they start asking you questions about your stress levels, your worry levels, all these things that really don't need to be in alignment with you in that moment because you weren't feeling them in the first place. You never expressed that you were worried or stressed. They are throwing this on you. They might not necessarily be the best person for you to be around. And I'm not saying you have to cut them out completely, but maybe just reevaluate what you share with them, what's going on in their life, because it is very important who we share our good and bad news to, because again, there aren't, like, every single person on this planet doesn't want to see you succeed because they are unhappy or they could feel unhappy. And if they are not dealing with their trauma, it makes them feel better sometimes, probably, for you to be down. And we, as women, we must not let that happen. We must not let them win. We must inspire other women to let go of these old paradigms, to let go of these ways of thinking so that we can join together in the sisterhood. It is very, very important and vital for our growth to let go of this fear of jealousy. And this really touches on also women being afraid of maybe cheating or et cetera, et cetera. I think it's going without saying that being a girl's girl, you're not sleeping with another woman's husband. I'm just going to say that out blank. I'm not saying that if you have before, you can't go ahead and switch. We all make mistakes. We all do things that aren't necessarily in our highest and best. And if you're doing anything out of malice or doing anything that is untrue to yourself and untrue to others, where everyone involved isn't consensual, as far as something like that would go, then that isn't being a girl's girl. So you really just want to have the utmost respect. This doesn't mean flirting with your friends' husbands or boyfriends. This doesn't mean having a partner and going behind their back. Being a girl's girl is just being truly respectful. I also think it's really important to remember, like, being a girl's girl, like, yeah, we should all appreciate our bodies. Like, I myself I'm pretty voluptuous in a lot of areas, but if I know I'm gonna be like meeting a friend's new beau or going somewhere like on a double date or something, I might not go ahead and wear something super revealing if it's not appropriate. If we're going to dinner or maybe we're going to a game night, because I don't need to impress my friend's partner. My partner knows what I look like, and I could wear those kind of things maybe if me and my partner are on a solo date, or even if it's like a festival or just something very different where maybe wearing less clothes is appropriate. But that is something I like to practice just for my own self because I think it helps other women and it's not about the men. For me, I feel very attractive. I love myself. And because I feel very attractive, if I know I'm going to be around other my friends' boyfriends or husbands, I purposely will wear things that I deem a little bit more appropriate. Like my ass isn't going to be hanging out, my boobs aren't going to be hanging out because I don't think that's necessarily appropriate or healthy. Not saying there's anything wrong with showing your boobs or butt. Like there's also been times where, my husband and I have gone to a nude hot spring. We're totally about it. I'm all about nude natural bodies, but not everyone is. So that's also really important to remember, especially if it's going to make your friend or family member feel uncomfortable. And that is my main concern. It isn't about the men. I don't care if they look, if they don't look, it doesn't matter to me. But what matters to me is the sisterhood. And if that is going to make my sisterhood, like my sisters, my friends, for any reason feel any type of discomfort because they might be working through something, I'm not necessarily going to go ahead and push that. I'm not going to show up half naked to a double date dinner and then make my friend feel uncomfortable. So that is what is really important to me for feeling like a girl's girl. That is something that I personally implement into my life while standing strong in my womanhood. And I think because I'm so appreciative of being a woman and I'm so confident in my own self that it's not necessarily dulling down, because maybe someone could hear that and be like, oh, why are you dulling your shine? Why are you dulling yourself? And it's like, no, it's not about dulling yourself at all. It's actually shining brighter because you're holding respect. And I think holding respect for our sisterhood is the strongest, most empowering thing that we can do on the planet for sure. So, all right, we've touched a lot of minutes, about 18 minutes on the darkness that can happen in the sisterhood and within the feminine. So let's go ahead and dive into what it means to be a girl's girl, sis. So, oh my goodness. Whew, welcome so much to the space. I'm loving talking about this. It's one of my absolute favorite topics on the planet because you know what, sis? I love you. I love all of my women. I wish them all the best and highest and most happiest lives. I hope that you are out there embracing your femininity and your womanhood, whatever that means to you. Whether it's out there, you're dancing, you're creating art, maybe you're starting your own business, maybe you're being independent, maybe you're a mother, like whatever you are doing, if you're doing all the things, if you're doing a few in a pot all mixed together, whatever it is, like I just really, really, really am inspired by all of you. And I am so happy to be here on the planet collaborating with each and every one of you because we are all so unique and we have such beautiful, unique gifts to share on this planet. And it is just such a gift to walk the earth with you this time around. So, being a girl's girl to me is really just standing up with our sisters and respecting them and knowing that we have no real reason to feel jealousy or intimidated by any other woman because we are all so beautiful and so unique. So when you see a woman out on the street and maybe you have a flash, a moment of jealousy or envy, just take a deep breath, hold it at the top, and go ahead, release all of those emotions out and allow them, imagine them transmuting into unconditional love into source, and say something super nice about yourself and appreciative about the other woman, because there are so many beautiful things I can tell you and I can see in each and every one of you, and every single woman is here to do a very specific purpose for the planet. Even if you might not see it within yourselves, I promise you that the universe sees it in all of you, and you will find it if you just keep looking within yourself. Finding something to love and appreciate about yourself every single day will shine this light on who you are brighter and brighter. And just reminding ourselves, being a girl's girl and in the sisterhood, that again, it's not about competition. We aren't here to break each other down. I'm going to take a drink of water. We aren't here to break each other down. We are truly here to coexist and to collaborate and to make beautiful art together in a way that is just us being ourselves. It makes the world so much more brighter and beautiful. And when we're able to sit in a room full of women who are different and have different skills, or even stuff that's similar to us, but some of them are different as well, which we might not necessarily see until we go ahead and sit down and start talking to these women, like talking to the women that we don't know, talking to the women that we do know, and really just diving in and appreciating their gifts, then we won't be jealous of these gifts. We want to release out the jealousy and envy of the gifts of others, and we want to embrace those gifts for what they are, and then we want to appreciate our gifts, because by looking at another woman and appreciating her gifts exactly how they are and loving them instead of being envious, in that moment you shine your brightest and your gifts shine through, and then you're able to really appreciate those wonderful things about you. Because I'm telling you, sis, that we all have these beautiful, unique gifts, and when we really allow ourselves to be our authentic selves, to be ourself, and to drop the act of wanting to be like anyone else, like seeing someone on the street and really wanting to be like them, then we really just shine extra bright. And it's beautiful to be inspired. We should be inspired by each other. It isn't necessarily about lack of inspiration. Inspiration is the foundation for the relationship between the women of collaborating. It's more so when we look at ourselves and we feel unworthy, so we want to strip everything away that is us and then almost put ourselves in a shell of something else that isn't us. That is what we really want to step away from. We really want to step away from that, because that is where the jealousy and the envy, the fear, the anxiety, the anger, that's where that all resides. So I'm asking you, sisters, to take a look into your lives and examine all of your relationships. Examine the sisterhood, examine the relationships you have with your friends, your family members, your coworkers that are your sisterhood, your females, and really just examine like who is truly there for you, who truly wants your highest and best. And this could be difficult to decipher, because sometimes it's a little bit harder to kind of get to the root of this, because it could be hidden. It could be hidden with self-sacrificial behavior, etc., etc. So we really need to peel back all of that, because people who really want your highest and best aren't going to put worry in your like alignment at all, like in your aura, your vortex, whatever you want to call it. Like people who truly want the best for you aren't going to bring worry, aren't going to bring jealousy, aren't going to bring envy. They aren't going to bring those low vibrating emotions and feelings into what it is to be in relationship with you. That doesn't mean we need to necessarily cut those people out. However, it could mean that we just assess and maybe reconstruct what we're expressing with those women, the amount of time and energy we're spending with those women, and really honestly just like what we're really sharing with them. That would be my biggest takeaway and gift and input on that is, again, like, be careful who you share information with, because everything is energy. And it's just very important because, again, every single person doesn't have your best interest at heart. Some people truly would be happy to watch you suffer and watch you struggle and fail. And it is very important to remember that. So I always like to kind of just keep it tight knit. I definitely also tend to overshare. So it's kind of like a weird balance for me where I'm somewhere between, I'm a little bit of an oversharer, but also try to keep it a little tight knit so everyone doesn't know all the things, because I'm trying to protect my energy over here. So so it's somewhere in the middle, and you will find a balance that is healthy for you. But I do think it's just so important as women, we get out there and really find our community and pull them in with your vibration, because when we attract what we are, in a way, if everything is energy. So if you want to find loving, compassionate, honest female friends and loved ones, maybe some of these people could even grow to be your family. Because again, family does not have to be blood. I'm a very strong believer in that. I don't really talk to or get along with most of my blood relatives. So, family does not necessarily need to be blood related. And when we put out, how we put out those energy is by living it. If you are walking the path of love, if you are walking a path of appreciation for the sisterhood, respecting other women, respecting yourself, knowing there is a sacred bond between the feminine. It's kind of like girl code. You know what I mean? Have you ever heard of like, that's girl code or that's guy code? You know, it really is like a deep integrated code. It's like, you know what's right and you know what's wrong. It's morals and ethics. So it's just really tapping into that girl code and living in alignment of respect, standing in your power, finding a mastery within yourself of love. And when you are in alignment with mastery of yourself, mastery of loving yourself, of respecting yourself, then everything and everyone around you either gets in alignment or gets out of the way. I've also, for me, I have had a lot of people growing up in my life who feel intimidated maybe by my energy. So they don't necessarily like me, or they might think I'm mean, or they just, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really control everybody's perception of you. It is what it is, you know, and that's not your job, and it's not your place, and it's also not your business. But what is your business is taking care of your own energy and respecting and loving that sister or sisterhood within you so that you're able to establish those healthy relationships in the sisterhood. And the best thing that you can do if you meet a sister, if you meet another woman and you're out and you just like feel the animosity, if you can feel it radiating off of them, I know that I can. Because it's so subtle and it's so manipulative when you get out in public and someone is just trying to push your buttons to make you feel uncomfortable, or someone is just trying to gnaw at you. Just walk away. You don't even need to say anything, sis. You don't even need to say anything, because you are setting your healthy boundaries and you are walking away from this woman, and you are loving yourself so much that you are not putting yourself at risk, because she will find her alignment eventually in this lifetime. And she will find that there is no reason to be envious or jealous of you. Because if you are living in alignment with wanting the best for her, simply because she is part of your sisterhood, part of the feminine energy that is so vital and important to the planet, then you know that you have done your part and you can walk away. So I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful almost 30 minutes with all of you. So, let me know your views and thoughts on sisterhood, and I would love to hear all about it. Thank you. Till next time.